Well, we are back with Dr. Helga. She has two very important guests here.
Yeah, they're very, very successful people and very interesting people. And they have a lot to say. And we're going to not let you be on suspense. We're going to kick right in. And I want to ask someone here, Rich Koenig, why are you wearing a Ralph Nader T-shirt?
Well, thanks for having us, Helga. Appreciate it. I've admired Ralph Nader for a long time. You know, a lot of people don't, associate him with being a spoiler in the elections. That's all they know of him, especially the younger generation coming along. Most people know Ralph Nader did a lot of things. He's responsible for safe cars today. You know, he was key to the EPA, key to the Clean Air and Water Act, and also OSHA. A lot of these things have basically helped the common man. He is for people's rights. He's always been a third-party person. He's never been mainstream because while I agree with a lot of his things, there's some things that I don't agree with, and other people don't agree also. But he's been a third party and a voice that otherwise you wouldn't hear, and that's basically what I would like. What I try to do also.
Right, great. Now you have to tell the listeners now who you are and what your plans are.
Okay. My name's Rich Koenig. I'm running for supervisor in the town of Gardner, and I've served on the board for the past 4 years as a town board member. Now I'm going for supervisor. I'd like to continue working with the people. I would like to have an atmosphere that's more conducive to the entire board working together, which unfortunately we don't have right now. But, there aren't any grand things that are that we're working on. There isn't any big items. It's just, working in a small town, working with the people, and unfortunately you have to say working with people on both sides of the aisle. There shouldn't be both sides of the aisle. There should be, everybody coming down the same aisle.
Right, yeah. Well, I do live in Gardner, kind of on the borders, Gardner, New Paltz, and sometimes I'm a New Paltz person, and then sometimes I'm a Gardner. But I'm very proud to be a Gardenier, is that what you call them? And a lot of people ask me, they said, wow, Gardner is really beautiful. Look at the sidewalks and look at that big road it looks like a road, but it's an extension to the walk trail, and I sometimes wonder, why is it so big? I hope no one thinks it's a street and drives on it, because that can happen. Someone, down in Chester, years back, I remember I lived in Greenwood Lake, that happened. A car drove in and killed a hiker there. He was running, actually, a runner. So anyway, that cost a lot of money. We have beautiful sidewalks. Everyone is proud of it, but everyone says, did that cost us something? And we are under the impression that it did not cost the taxpayer a dime. Is that true?
No, from the beginning, from when it was planned, the federal government was going to pay 80%, the state government was going to pay 15%, and the local government, Gardner, is going to pay 5%, which is how it's been from the beginning and is the way the payments have been coming down. Right now, we have a situation where, over the years, this has been planned for since 2006.
Right.
It started a long time ago. So there's been little payments, engineering payments, legal payments going back and forth. But now this past summer when they started the actual construction, the town borrowed enough money to pay the construction as it went along. So far the local government share has been 21%. The state's share is supposed to be like $80,000 or whatever. Local government's share is about $21,000. The state share is supposed to be about $80,000. And recently the state has said, oops, no, that's not right. We're only going to pay $67,000. So there's another $13,000 that is still in discussion. So there are costs involved. It doesn't not cost anything, but these are things. The 5% has always been on the board. The 5% it's not anything new. It isn't anything that it isn't anything that should surprise someone.
Right. So, okay, I understand the whole project was almost $1.5 million. So we taxpayers are really worried about that now. When we get our tax bill next year, will there be a high increase? Everyone is worried about taxes. And that's why we want people in office who really put a tamper on it, get the money somehow, budget differently. We don't want the taxes. Everyone would say the same thing to everyone who's running. We don't want the taxes go up anymore. We had it. A lot of people are moving out of Ulster County because of the taxes, So I know we also want to include in that John Hinson, right? If you have to say something
Thank
about
you very
that.
much.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the tax issue is a issue that's been brought to the people. It's been brought to our leadership, and it's one of those things that there's no specific answer that we can come back for people. Right now, this year, the past couple of years here with Governor Cuomo passing the 2% tax, property tax increase max, has been a good start. But what we're not seeing is mandate reform that comes back to the school districts, because for property owners, the school tax itself is significant for each of us. And until mandate reforms come back to the schools so that it releases some of the handcuffs, if you will, on the leaders in the school districts to cover the cost for providing services to the students that they're no longer receiving return for or reimbursements for. So at this point right now, we should, on the town level, although it's difficult to give an exact answer on how to fix that, we should express ourselves and be a voice to our county and our state officials to say, listen, in Gardner, one of the most beautiful places in all of New York State.
So true.
Our people, our constituents or citizens are struggling. And now is not the time to deny that struggle or provide offers for them to move out of state or to encourage that, but for us to acknowledge that that is a significant problem. We have to come up with some reforms to address it. Now, as I'm running for town councilman, I don't have the exact answer on how to fix that. I don't have a plan on how to go forward with that, other than communicate back to our officials and ask for assistance with that. Because as long as that is the major problem that's in the room for our families and residents, we should have a voice at least to say we acknowledge that and we want to try to help. Okay.
Yeah. I have another question. All the signs, the billboards, all the signs are up. It looks just great, especially yours. I like that,
So I take it you've noticed the red signs that are going up.
Yeah, right. And what is it all about?
Well, I think what's been really helpful for me to this process was when I was first asked whether I would consider running for town council. I was asked by a Democrat, and I bounced it around and said, I do see there's issues, and I do see where I could help with it. And I started to talk to people, and fortunately, Rich was one of the people I spoke to, too. And I really didn't know Rich, but I spoke to him and said, listen, I have some concerns, I have this. And Rich was like, if you have the ability to take part in this, you should. And so what happened was I was asked to consider running as a Democrat. The Democrat caucus came. I was not supported by the Democrat committee, but I was nominated and I was seconded, and I lost. But one of the things that came out of there was that a lot of the information that I had spoken to from other parties within Gardner all shared the same concerns that the Democrats were saying. When you took away the political party affiliation, most people acknowledged that the problems that we're having with taxes, the problems that we're having with needing business, and the problems that in needing a cell tower in town were common problems, and they were shared across the board. So when I went on to meet with the Republicans, the Independents, and the Conservatives, it was a common denominator. Like, they were all talking almost as if they were having the same conversation. And what I found difficult was after that point was I was talking to Rich, is when we spoke to people individually, they were like, oh, you got a great message. We like what you're doing. We like what you're talking about, but are you a Democrat or Republican? And so I kept going back to Rich and saying, we should really think about how we can address that. And that's where we came up with People for Gardner.
Right.
I think we have somebody on the phone. Hello?
Hello.
Yeah. Hi, who's
Hi,
this?
this is Andy from New Paltz.
Okay. And you...
Can I speak with Rich?
Sure.
Hello, Andy. This is Rich.
Hi, Rich. Concerning these the sidewalks and the construction, I was wondering at the beginning, were the taxpayers polled to see if this was something that the taxpayers wanted, and did they know how much it was going to cost? And was there a study made how this would benefit the business or the town or whatever? In other words, what was going to be the end result?
Good question.
Okay, first part of the question. Did we know how much it was going to cost? Once initial layouts were done, and there was what they called the phase one, the original layout for the sidewalks went from the town hall to the rail trail, and that's what it included. And that was the part that was the 80% federal, 20% or 15% state, 5% local share. So back then, the estimates were lower than they were, once the project got a ways down the.
Did the people know how much it was going to cost? And why weren't they polled to see if if we really needed this?
Well, one of the things that many people encouraged the town board at that time to do was to establish a sidewalk district where the people who would directly benefit from the sidewalks would be not so much paying for them, but just like you have a sewer district, just like you have a light district. If you have those that infrastructure in your area of the town, you help contribute to that for upcoming maintenance, for snow plowing, for the same reasons you have like the sewer district. When things aren't flushing, you need somebody to fix it. Sorry.
Now, when you say many people were interested or whatever way you use it, I'd like to find out why weren't the people polled to see if the general population wanted to spend this money, and weren't they told that eventually it's going to hit them in the pocketbook?
The town board at the time decided it would be good for Gardner to do, and they, I'm sure they polled the local businesses and things like that and got feedback, but no, nothing was ever done. There were open forums, and like I said, many people said, we're not against sidewalks, but if you do it, there should be a district so the continuing costs would be paid for by the people who benefit the most from it.
And Andy, as a resident myself, the sidewalks look nice. You see people, the parking is defined now. It gives you a great look when you come through the town. But I think the one thing that was forgotten the whole way through this is that even though grants were in place, grants are still taxpayer money that goes out there. And even though we're getting the benefit of this grant that comes through, we still have to keep in mind that all grants come from taxpayers' money. So, with the expectation that we were paying 5%, and that's somewhat changing now with the changes from the state, and there's going to be more of a contribution from Gardner than we expected, at least on the front side right now. And I really can't speak to how long that is. But I can acknowledge that they look fantastic. I think we should all acknowledge that grants are not free money.
Right.
It's still taxpayer money that comes from
Well, we
somewhere.
all thought that it would
You
be
see,
free.
I don't think people in general are aware of this. Well,
Right.
a grant means a grant. You know, like you give a college student a grant and he pays his tuition. That's, I don't think people were aware of it. And were they aware of what benefits these sidewalks would have been? Because I go through there, I never see anybody on the sidewalk. I mean, I'm not there 24 hours a day, obviously.
No, absolutely. And, I think that we can always strive. And when I say we, as Gardner residents, strive to communicate not only to our town board, but for the town board to communicate back out to us as well. That's something we can work on. And one thing I can say, as not being on the town board right now, but I've been going to the meetings since June, is there's really not a high turnout of the population that comes to these meetings unless it's a hot topic. And the one
excuse me, there isn't, because I found that no matter what you say at the town board meeting, they're going to do it anyway. I've had this happen to me on several occasions.
Well,
they don't really. It doesn't sound like they really care about your opinion.
I can understand the frustration with that, and I'm hoping that Rich and I started a new party called People for Gardner. And
yeah, I heard about that. That sounds encouraging.
I'm glad you've heard of it. A lot of people are seeing our signs where it says P4G on it, and we started a Facebook page where people can come and like the page and follow the conversation that Rich and I are having. Mm-hmm. Because right now, I do believe that I can agree with you on the communication. That's something we can always strive to encourage. But I'd like to encourage more of the population to show up at the town board meetings. And I can say for a fact that a budget meeting that I attended, there were only 4 residents that showed up to that budget meeting. And I was thinking to myself as I listened to the board and they were going through the numbers and trying to put together next year's budget, is there's really nobody here to say, how did you come up with that number?
You see, the ones that I went to, they were crowded, but I haven't gone to that many. I understand there's another one on Thursday. Is that right?
No, there's actually another budget meeting tonight at 7 o'clock at the town hall.
Right. On Thursday, yeah.
Right, Andy, on Thursday is Meet the Candidates, right? Is that on this Thursday?
Yeah.
Starting, what time does it start?
Yeah.
That's from 7...
7?
From 7 to 9.
7 to 9, yeah.
And in an effort to communicate here while we can and we have people listening to us, I just wanted to make sure that at the on Thursday, you'll get a chance to meet with some committee members from the Republicans, the Conservatives, the Independents, and the fourth party, which Rich and I are both on, the People for Gardner. We really, I wanted to make sure I at least get to explain to you, Andy, even if it's just one person today, that the People for Gardner is so that we could establish some middle ground, some common ground, so that we can say that Rich is not carrying the conservative flag, I am not carrying the Republican flag, but what we want to do is focus on the middle ground, and that middle ground includes Democrats. There are issues that are going on right now that if you come out and say, here's what I want to do, I'm a Republican, you get shut down right off the bat. Likewise, if you say this is what I want to do and I'm a Democrat, you get shut off off the bat. And what I wanted to say to everybody, and especially you, Andy, since you took the time to call, is that I'm not here to debate national issues or national politics. That does not have a place in Gardner. But what I am here to say is that these issues, we should be able to communicate with each other and say this is not a war. At the end of this election, if I'm broke down on the side of the road and you drive by but you're a Democrat and you know who I am, I would hope you'd stop and help me, because I know that I would return that to you.
Right.
And as residents, I think we should be taking care of each other and not attacking each other.
Right, great.
That makes sense.
All right. Andy, you have another question, or are we going?
The long and the short of it is I would hope that in the future, rather than thinking about spending money, I think maybe we ought to give some thought to saving the money before we spend it, and also be more informative to the public what things are going to cost and what's the reasoning, and have we done any studies of the benefits that we're going to accrue from this.
Right.
That's about it.
Yeah, and that's the question I have too. What would you do if you were in office now? What would be your what would you address first?
Well, I just want to make a comment on what his main question was about the sidewalks. And we have sidewalks now. Sidewalks shouldn't be a divisive issue. And in the past it has been. we have them now. Let's support the local businesses. Let's enjoy the sidewalks. And one of the questions you had before, Helga, or one of the comments you made was, will anybody turn down that nice road? Well, somebody already has turned down that nice road on the rail trail. These are the things you learn. You set it up.
Excuse me, I just want to say something in passing.
Sure.
So we don't get a misunderstanding over here. I'm talking about expenditures in general. It just so happens that the sidewalks are the current issue.
No.
And I'm talking about in the future, and expenditures in general, the people should know the full facts that it's going to come out of their pocket, because people are really at it at this point. And everybody has. The economy is not good, and money doesn't go far. Money's depressed, whatever, so I really don't have anything else to say.
No, but I think you make a great point about expenditures, and one of the comments that I made at a town board meeting is, as we're coming up on budget time now, to me it's very important to look at the historical data of expenses for the town and to be able to project what next year's budget is going to be, so you can turn around to the public and say, I can tell you exactly what that number is, and here's why. Sometimes it seems like when you're listening to it, it's more about guesstimating line item or bulk items instead of breaking it down by line item and saying we can project or try to project how much the fees will be for the transfer station or legal fees. But you can run into the problem of unexpected legal fees like this year. There's a significant increase in fees in both of those line items that I spoke about, the transfer station and the legal fees. The legal fees...
And that always happens.
Yeah, well, the legal fees are tough because you really don't know what you're going to run into. But on the transfer station, you can lock in a better number on that going forward. You can anticipate what the costs are for doing it. And I know Rich right now has been working with Mike Reynolds on the town board, who's a Democrat, to come up with a better plan for the transfer station. And at the last town board meeting, they came up with some great topics to talk about. And I would encourage everyone who's concerned about their taxes, everyone that's concerned about the spending, to show up at tonight's meeting. So it gives you a chance to really hear what's being said. And I'm not saying that to point fingers at anybody. I think as we live here, and we should take an active role in understanding what's going on and encourage or discourage a line of direction in this budgeting process that you like or don't like.
Okay, so for anyone who just tuned in, this is WHVW, Hyde Park, Poughkeepsie, and the rest of the world. We have a lot of people in Poughkeepsie living in Gardiner. So they all got phone calls from me. They are working here. They have their jobs here in Poughkeepsie and Hyde Park, but they are from Gardiner, and they are listening because it's a very important subject, what we're having here. And right now you have heard from John Hinson, the future town councilman. Am I correct? And then,
you're correct about John Hinson, the future town councilman. Let the public decide.
Okay. Yeah.
Can I
Go
say
ahead,
something
Andy.
in
Yes.
closing? I think the town board ought to be aware that people are really concerned about these taxes and expenditures, and more studies should be made, and the people should be polled, a referendum, whatever, before this money is spent. And we ought to think about saving money.
Right. You know, Andy, we have to really get more people to those meetings. So
yes,
important, you know that?
Yeah.
We have to put it on our calendar. Look at the
agenda.
The agenda, thank you. And that was our future, town supervisor, right? That was Rich Koenig here. Okay, do you want to say something?
No, again, the people have to
where's
speak.
Where's the budget meeting tonight?
It's at the town hall, Andy.
The town hall, okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Nice speaking with you. I appreciate it.
Hey, thank you for your
thank you.
time, Andy.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Andy.
Yeah, but I just wanted to finish before we were talking a little bit, finishing up on the sidewalks. That the sidewalks are something that definitely pulls the downtown together, and it shouldn't be something to argue about or point fingers at. We have them. We'll deal with the expenses as there are. There really isn't a whole lot we can do. But the thing about a car turning down there, they realized even when they were just working on it, somebody thought it was a street. So now I'm not sure if they put them up yet, but there will be things to block so somebody doesn't turn down there
Yeah,
anymore.
and why was it done? I mean, that was very costly, right? The width of a road, and it goes down, what, a quarter of a mile or something. What is the reason for doing that?
Well, okay, there was the first section of these things were done before I was in office. You know, the plans.
Okay.
And the first phase was from the town hall to the rail trail. The second phase was done under the stimulus program that was done under President Obama after the financial problems that the country experienced in 2007, 2008. So that second phase from the rail trail to the church, that included, they wanted a sidewalk over to the library. Mm-hmm. So by paving that section of the rail trail, that ties the library into the other sidewalk. So that's why that was done.
And you know, there's been a side benefit with that too. When you have the farmer markets, and you have, as we've seen in there, we're bringing more and more people into the hamlet, and we're encouraging what Gardner's all about. I mean, when you come through and you got the views and you get a chance to stop at the farmer's market and go to the local deli, these are all things that that just make Gardner that much better of a place. So even though that there might have been an expense associated with putting that in, it's there now. But we're reaping some rewards from that right now that goes across party lines that all the residents of Gardner are really enjoying right now.
Right. For anyone who is listening right now on WHVW and who is not familiar with Gardner, Ulster County, you got to go there. It's beautiful. We are so proud of it. And we have good people in office working for us. And two people are sitting right here now, Rich Koenig and John Hinson. And they will tell us what they're going to do in the future if they have been elected, right? So what is your plan?
Okay, the first thing that I'd like to be able to do is change the formats of the way we meet. In the past, there have always been two town board meetings a month. One was traditionally a workshop meeting, and then you would have the second meeting would be the business meeting when you would do your financial things. And now it's evolved over the years into basically two business meetings. You're doing about the same thing each month. We break down into little committees to do things and report back, things like that. And that, going back to the older format would give you the opportunity to, okay, you have a workshop meeting. Now you don't have to have as many separate subcommittees or whatever. You know, you put your agenda out a couple of weeks in advance, and there's always going to be little changes, but that gives all the board members an opportunity to know what's going to be there, to be able to do the proper research and stuff. So you come together to that meeting, you discuss it, you go back and forth, come to a decision because everybody is there, and you vote on it at the next, at the business meeting and do those things. That would enable people that would enable the board members to participate more fully.
Right.
The rest of the things, there's also the accounting software that the town uses. It makes it difficult to analyze what's been done. We do budgets, we do all these things, but when you want to look back and see, when you have a metric and you say, I want to do this and I want to get to here, and you get there, you have to be able to look back and see what's happened.
And I think Rich makes a great point there, and this is something that Jim Miller, who's also running for town council, and I have spent a significant amount of time sitting down talking, is there should be a certain amount, and I hate to say transparency because that seems like that's the word every politician throws out there, that they want transparency and provide it and then get in and don't do it. But we would like to see some type of reporting and I know monthly may be tough, but quarterly that says, here's where we're at on the budget year to date. So you can sit there and say, as of the third month, the first quarter, we've spent X number of dollars above and beyond the budget, or we're below the budget, and share it with the public. Because I think for me, and I'm a numbers guy, I like to know where I stand at any given time. I think improving the accounting software, having people that can be able to run the reports before the meeting, and then be able to share that with the public would say, hey, we're doing well here, we're not doing so well there.
Right, that's a very good answer. Yes. John, do you have anything to ask? He's very good in interviewing politicians.
Well, why don't we play a song and then we come right back. And
Great.
We'll do
Good
that.
idea.
Okay.